Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Reaction Monday, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Another NFL season is in the books. It's tough. No football for another 6.5 months, but we have a lot to react to. Super Bowl 60 last night. The Seahawks are Super Bowl champions in what was, score-wise, I wouldn't call it a complete blowout because it was close-ish for most of the game. It was a defensive struggle, but the Seahawks control the game basically from start to finish, and Seattle are your Super Bowl champions. Parker, what's going on? How was your weekend? How did you enjoy the Super Bowl?
Well, I tried to enjoy the Super Bowl as much as I could. It wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing game, but it was also the last football game of the season until we get college football in late August. So I tried to enjoy every second, hosted a Super Bowl party. Yes, Connor, I did hit the over on chicken minis.
Wow, there we go.
I cleared it, actually. So ate a lot of good food because we know calories do not count on holidays.
No, they do not.
So it was about as good of a weekend as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I had some fun. I went over to a friend's house for Super Bowl party, pizza, some wings, the typical stuff. It was an interesting Super Bowl, right? Like the matchup there between the Seahawks and the Patriots, it's different than what we've seen in the past. There wasn't the superstar quarterback, and maybe one or both of these guys ends up being that superstar quarterback down the road, but at this point in their careers, they're not viewed as the elite guys across the NFL. So it was different. It was a defensive struggle. That Seahawks defense is really, really, really good. I mean, I don't think the Patriots offense is like world beaters. Like they had 250 yards against the Texans in the divisional round. They had a little over 200 yards against the Broncos in the conference championship. So it's not like this is some juggernaut offense that the Patriots rolled in and the Seahawks shut it down. But I expected it to be closer than that. I thought the Patriots would at least put up a little bit more of a fight. And that Seahawks defense through three quarters, I did not think the Patriots were going to score. And they get the big plays to Mac Hollins on back-to-back snaps, ends up being a touchdown. But pretty much outside of that, it was all Seahawks the entire way. Really impressive stuff from Mike McDonald. And I think you look at Drake May and you say, all right, you're a second-year quarterback, and it kind of showed on the biggest stage last night. Everyone wanted to make the jokes about Sam Darnold seeing ghosts against the Patriots back when he was with the Jets. It looked like Drake May might have been the one seeing ghosts in last night's game. He had a couple of good moments, but man, every time it looked like they were starting to find a rhythm, he made some horrible mistakes. Not completely his fault. There was not great pass protection the entire game, and I know Will Campbell's getting dragged through the mud a little bit for it, but Drake May, not a good showing on the biggest stage last night. And I think it's fair to criticize, but I think also you have to look and say that's a 23-year-old playing in his first Super Bowl. He has a lot of room to get better. And we can't completely condemn Drake May and his career just based off of one game.
As a former quarterback, I always take the chance to defend the young guys because I know that when you're developing a quarterback is the most important position in sports. And when you have a young quarterback, they need a lot of time to develop. And your instances where you have CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels who have, historic rookie years, and everybody thinks that, oh, the next year, just wait until you see him next year. Well, CJ Stroud has not looked like that since. In fact, his playoff game was horrible. Jaden Daniels got injured and was out most of the year. So with Drake May, you're looking at the Patriots. I think they were way ahead of schedule considering where they had been the last 2 years, 4-13. Not to use a well, common phrase around here, the ball bounced their way a lot. They had a very easier schedule compared to a lot
favorable schedule.
Favorable schedule is probably the better word. They hit on almost every position in the offseason. Drake May skyrocketed in his second year. So, but he still looks like he's 15 out there. At least he did last night, and he did in the postseason. They're way ahead of schedule. The Seahawks are right where they're supposed to be. I have no doubt that Drake May is going to be a star, but he just needs a little bit more time.
Yeah, I think Drake May is a great player, and I think he is going to be a good quarterback in this league. But last night, the lights looked too bright for him. I mean, there were times he was holding the ball too long. Some of the decisions down the stretch were just mind-bending at times. He threw the horrible pick to Love, and a couple plays before that, I want to say he just chucked one up into triple coverage and got lucky that it didn't get picked. So it was not a good day for Drake May. Again, he's young. I will put it out there, though, and I saw this last night. I have not actually been able to confirm, but I'm going to believe it. No second-year quarterback who has gotten to the Super Bowl and lost has ever been back. So, and it's a small sample size, right? And maybe a specific stat, because second-year quarterbacks who have gotten there and won have gotten back. Tom Brady did it. Kurt Warner did it. But I think it's 4 quarterbacks who, second-year quarterbacks, got to the Super Bowl, lost, never got back. Dan Marino, Colin Kaepernick, Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow. Obviously, Purdy and Burrow are still playing, so there's a chance that they get back. But it is one of those things where you say with teams with quarterbacks, oh, this isn't it for them. They're going to be back. And it's just so difficult to get back to the Super Bowl, as we've learned around here, right? The Titans in 2019, you get to the AFC Championship, and you've still got Ryan Tannehill, who's young-ish at that point. He was not old by any means, still in the prime of his career. Derrick Henry was really just entering his prime at that point. You felt like this was a team that was going to be back, and they never got back to the AFC Championship. It's tough to do. And for Drake May, you do look at it and you say he's young, he's going to have more opportunities, but there is a chance that he never gets back to a Super Bowl, and it's really tough to see the way that he played in his first opportunity. Again, maybe his only opportunity at the Super Bowl.
But I don't really bat an eye at it, because you look at the way they've played in the postseason and the defenses that he had to go against. We're talking about, LA, then Houston, Denver, Seattle. It seemed to, progressively get tougher and tougher and tougher. And I know neither of us were alive for this game, or Dan Marino, he made the Super Bowl in his second year.
Right.
And everybody thought that, oh man, he's going to be back.
Yep.
And he's going to win a couple. And he never ended up going back. So, yeah, we can have that conversation, and maybe the Patriots never do get back to the Super Bowl under Drake May. But you look at their schedule next year, you think about, what about Josh Allen? Do you think that him and the Bills are going to respond to this?
Right.
I tend to think so.
Patrick Mahomes, I'm sure
when
the
he's
Chiefs
healthy,
are going to take a step forward again
this
this
AFC
year.
is still a gauntlet of quarterbacks.
Right.
So maybe, just maybe, things do not bounce their way again next year.
Right.
So it's stuff you have to think about.
No, and that's the only point I'm trying to make, is that you look and you say, this isn't it for Drake May. He'll be back. But there are a lot of instances of quarterbacks making runs early in their career, and it's just so difficult. You're right, for the ball to bounce your way and have the right pieces around you to be able to make those runs, unless you're one of the greats. We've seen Mahomes make that run. He was in the AFC Championship for like 7 straight years. But Andrew Luck, he went to the AFC Championship in what, year 2, year 3? It was the Deflategate year. I think it was year 2. And everybody says, oh, Andrew Luck, he's going to be here for years to come. He's going to be the next great AFC quarterback. Injuries happen. He never made it back. Joe Burrow, I think when you had those back-to-back AFC Championship games between Burrow and Mahomes, the thought was, that's going to be the battle for the next 10 years. Well,
new Brady Manning.
Right. Burrow hasn't made the playoffs in the last 2 years. So, again, not to say that they won't be back, but it is so difficult. And Drake May, it did not end up working out for him last night. That was not a good performance. And the Seahawks defense deserves a lot of credit for it too, right? Like they made things difficult. They were winning one-on-one matchups up front when they only sent 4. When they were sending blitzes, they were getting home quick. Devin Witherspoon was shot out of a cannon like 4 times right into Drake May. So the defense deserves a lot of credit. for making things difficult on him. But Drake May did not do enough to keep his team in the game last night and ended up throwing a pretty backbreaking pick towards the end of the game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, they'll be back. They're just going to improve the roster. They're not the Bengals. They'll get better at protecting May. I agree with that, right? Like the Patriots aren't cheap. The Patriots are a well-run organization. I think they're going to put their team in position to succeed. But again, it's like I think the Patriots fans in general probably think like, oh, we'll be back because we've always been back. The NFL is still the NFL. Only 2 teams make it to the Super Bowl every single year. And unless you have one of those guys, Brady, Mahomes, Manning, it's tough to get back. And I don't know if Drake May is that type of guy yet. He's got to prove that for more than just 1 year. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. It is a Reaction Monday, again, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. We're going to get into plenty more with the Super Bowl, talking about that defense for the Seahawks coming up next. Mike McDonald, the first defensive play caller as a head coach to win a Super Bowl, and that defense maybe up there with the Legion of Boom with the performance that they put on last night. 615-737-1025. Off and running on this Monday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up. 1025 The Game. That was Mike Macdonald after the game yesterday talking about being the first defensive play caller as a head coach to win the Super Bowl. Titans have one of those guys now, so maybe makes you feel better about that hire, having somebody who can call the plays as the head coach, but also having the experience on the defensive staff led by Gus Bradley as the DC. And we can get into that a little bit. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up 102.5. The game against Seahawks are Super Bowl champions, beating the Patriots 29-13 yesterday in Santa Clara. That Seahawks defense is legit, Parker. I mean, and it doesn't exactly have household names on there, right? Like, there are guys who have been stars. Like DeMarcus Lawrence was a really good player with the Cowboys, and he's out there. And, Leonard Williams has been a really good player for a long time. The cornerbacks are known as good players with Reek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. But it's not like there is a household name that everybody looks at and says, oh, the Seahawks defense, they are held together by that guy. Nicky Manwari, I think, has gotten a lot of headlines for what he's done his rookie season, but it really is just a collection of really, really good players who fit the scheme well, and they put them in positions to succeed. I heard Kyle Shanahan, who was part of the pregame coverage with NBC, talking about what makes the Seahawks defense hard. And it was funny, Parker. I don't know if you saw this part of the pregame coverage where Shanahan goes, well, I haven't scored a touchdown against him in either of the last two times that
I thought he was fantastic yesterday.
I thought Shanahan and Fred Warner were both really good. I'm glad that they did that. I think bringing guys who are currently in the league in gives you a little bit more insight into what's going on, because Jason Garrett, as long as he's been coaching in the NFL, yeah, he can give you a lot of good insight, but Kyle Shanahan literally just faced the Seahawks 3 weeks ago. He can tell you exactly what they do that makes things difficult on opposing offenses. And they talked about the ability of the Seahawks to run two safeties high and still stop the run. And it is just that collection of talent that the Seahawks have, maybe without a star, but they put together a group that fits exactly what they want to do, and Mike Macdonald and that staff puts them in positions to go make plays. And you hope that with Robert Saleh coming in and the way that he's been able to succeed as a defensive play caller wherever he's gone, I think that gives you hope that maybe even if the Titans don't have a ton of star power on defense, like, there's only so many stars you can bring in an offseason. You have Jeffrey Simmons, who he's a first-team All-Pro player. Maybe you take a Reuben Bain or a David Bailey at 4. But outside of that, you're not going to be going in and bringing in stars. You hope that Robert Saleh, being the defensive mind that he is, can bring in some really good players, whether that's through free agency, through development of the guys you already have, or maybe in the later rounds of the draft, that can work together in his system to create what needs to be a better defense than what we've seen over the past few years.
Yeah, and I think this is the kind of the new era, if you will, of the NFL with Mike Macdonald, because not only is it the scheme, but the way that the players play in the scheme, because typically when you run that shell coverage like they do, that takes away the pass, which kind of opens up the run, but they could rush 4 and still get home. That's kind of how they're different than the Legion of Boom. The production is probably just as good,
right?
But it's different because they're out there running, sometimes 6 safeties or 6 defensive backs, which the Legion of Boom didn't do all that well. But I was pointing out to a friend last night, it's like Mike Macdonald knew the exact time to bring the blitz and when to drop back, and he threaded that needle perfectly. So the way that these guys are able to play into the scheme, you're right. It's not just this one superstar player,
right,
but it's a collection of guys. So, and here's to tie this into your point about Robert Saleh. There was a guy by the name of Roger Bannister who ran the first 4-minute mile. And before that happened, people used to think it was impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Well, they saw him do it, and it's not like, everybody took this magic potion and then, we can run a 4-minute mile. They just had to see somebody do it. So with Robert Saleh being the defensive mind, that should be encouraging that a defensive-minded head coach just took his team and led him to the Super Bowl. That doesn't mean that's going to happen, though.
Right. No, of course. And it's interesting the way the cycle of the NFL works of for such a long time, for about 10 years, basically the McVay-Shanahan trend over the last decade has been, we need to find these young, up-and-coming offensive guru coaches. And everybody's tried to play that copycat game, including the Titans, going and getting Brian Callahan. That was how you won, was you go get the guru offensive play caller coach who's going to stick around, he's going to develop your quarterback, and he can also be a head coach. But those guys are hard to find. And as the NFL has cycled, it's like, all right, well, now how do we stop those guys? We need defensive coaches who are unique in their schemes that it can make it difficult on these play callers. And I think we're starting to see the NFL trend back towards that direction of these creative defensive minds are becoming just as valuable as the creative offensive minds. And I thought that was cool to see with Mike Macdonald last night, again, becoming the first head coach as a defensive play caller to win the Super Bowl. 3337 on the text line says, I don't want to say they look scared, but maybe shocked by the Seahawks defense. And I agree. As much credit as Mike Vrabel gets and Josh McDaniels gets for the job that they do and always having their teams prepared, they looked like they didn't know what was coming against the Seahawks defense. And maybe that's just talent winning, right? We talked about it last week that the Seahawks were the more complete team. It could just be that they were out-talented, but it did seem in some ways that they were unprepared for what they were going to see. The protections weren't great. They were letting free runners come off the edge when Mike Macdonald did decide to blitz. It did see that they were kind of shell-shocked a little bit by the way the Seahawks came out and attacked them early on in that game specifically.
Well, I think, too, that they realize, Mike Macdonald is one of the most prepared coaches in the NFL. They realize that Will Campbell has really been struggling in the postseason specifically. I mean, really been struggling. And, there are going to be conversations this offseason about, do you need to move him to left guard? There are some people I heard on ESPN that think that he needs to move to center. Don't think that's going to happen.
That seems like a stretch.
I mean, the conversation about bumping him inside the left guard is going to be a very real thing. But their starting left guard in the game last night was also a rookie. So that left side is completely vulnerable to the pass rush that Seattle brings. So Mike Macdonald's going to realize that, and sure enough, he exploited that. And two, the Patriots game plan, and this is kind of where you see the similarities of what Mike Vrabel was in Tennessee. They played very conservative, and it seems like they just waited for Sam Darnold to make a mistake, and he didn't.
Right.
And then when you get behind, then you really have to start playing catch up, and that's when Drake May starts to throw those just horrific interceptions.
Yep. And the Seahawks did not turn the ball over in the playoffs this year. Only 3 games, but they did not turn the ball over.
One of the few teams to do that in NFL history.
I think Robbie and Joe said they might have been the first to ever do it, which was it's crazy. And the one play that, I mean, Will Campbell has been getting a lot of hate. Apparently 14 pressures in that game last night, which is not good. It doesn't even seem possible, but he was not good last night. The left guard, I'm blanking on his name, but he was a rookie as well. The play where the defensive tackle literally just dog walked him back into Drake May and then tackled both of them. That was when you knew that this was just utter dominance from the Seahawks team, and that defense was great all night long. Matthew in Nashville on the text line says, it's not that you can't bring in stars, it's can you convince them that Tennessee is the place to play and that they're trying to be better than the dysfunctional organization they've been since they fired John Robinson. Matthew, I'm not talking about, convincing players to come to Nashville. I'm more talking about just the availability of star players out there in an offseason. Unless you're willing to give up draft capital to go get like the Packers, they gave up a ton of draft capital to go get Mike Parsons. The Titans aren't in a position to go do that. So with what you have at your disposal, yeah, you're going to be able to get some good players in free agency with the money you have. You're going to be able to get some playmakers towards the top of the draft, but you have to be able to build a collective defense under Robert Saleh that is going to be able to make plays. Yes, that starts with getting some more playmakers, but I think you also just need to add guys who fit what Robert Saleh is trying to do, because that's what Mike Macdonald did. Again, there are really, really good players on that team, but are there a ton of guys who you'd look at and say that is one of the best players in the league at their position? I think there's a lot of top 10 guys, but there's not a lot of top 3 guys. And you can, with the right coach and with the right collection of players, you can turn that into a Super Bowl winning defense that, quite honestly, we're going to talk about Kenneth Walker in the next segment. I think somebody on defense should have won a Super Bowl MVP because they were the reason they won that game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey is on the line. Trey, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I just want to say, I got off early yesterday and I watched the game. I watched maybe the first 5 or 6 series, and from what I see, it was kind of like Drake May was shell shocked. It felt to me like everything that he heard about Seattle defense and what he seen on TV was coming into fruition, and they got in his head early and often, and they made him so uncomfortable back there, trying to orchestrate what the New England was wanting to do, to where it was complete and utter dominance by Seattle. Complete. That's the blueprint defense of plays that you need to build a complete defense. That defense is unbelievable. And like you say, they don't even have big name players. But the thing of it is that if you're fast and violent, you can overcome anything. It could be a 3-star player, or it could be a 5-star player. And I felt bad for Drake May. I couldn't even watch it no more after the first half. I couldn't watch it because I knew it was gonna be bad. And y'all have a good day and thank you. But hey, Coach Vrabel, I give him all the props and stuff, but that O-line is terrible. And y'all have a good day. Thank you. Love y'all.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Trey. I agree about the Drake May stuff. Drake May looked rattled after the first couple series. He was, again, I hate to use it because it is kind of just the Sam Darnold of it all, but it looked like he was seeing ghosts towards the end of that game. Some of the passing decisions that he was making made absolutely no sense. He was rattled in that game, and credit to the Seahawks defense. I don't know if they did something completely different than what the Patriots saw on film, but Drake May did not look prepared for whatever the Seahawks were doing on the other side of the ball. And it was impressive stuff. Seattle's defense carries them to a Super Bowl win last night. The Seahawks, in year 2 under Mike McDonald, are Super Bowl champs. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Much more coming on the Super Bowl. Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP. And maybe rare to see a Super Bowl MVP who is a free agent at the end of the year. Maybe could be out there. Would you like him in two-tone blue? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Reaction Monday after the Super Bowl. Seahawks beat the Patriots last night in Super Bowl 60. Seattle brings home the Lombardi. Going to get into Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker here in a second, but first let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jack has called in. Jack, thanks for calling. What you got for us today?
Yeah, I just wanted to. I hear a lot of talk about that Drake Mays, but I urge people to go look at the stats. Drake Mays actually outplayed Sam O'Donnell. And if it wasn't for Kenneth Walker, I mean, he earned that MVP. I don't know that Seattle would have been able to win. I mean, between their defense and their running back, that's how Seattle won. Yeah, Drake Mays did a lot better than people are giving him credit for. That's kind of what I got to say about Drake Mays. He, in my book, he's still really a rookie because it's only his second year, but I think he's going to come up more. So y'all watch out for him. That's what I got to say about it.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jack. And I agree. Drake May has a lot of growth to do. He still is only 23. The conversation we had early on was just about how hard it is to get back to the Super Bowl, no matter who you are, unless you are one of the greats. And Drake May has not proven that he's going to be one of the greats yet. We will see. Drake May played bad last night. Like, there's no getting around that. Drake May was not good. And yeah, Darnold's stats weren't great either. And Sam Darnold missed some pretty big throws. I'm not going to get on him too much about the one to Jackson Smith and Jigba because that was just a crazy play to even be able to get that throw off, rolling to his left, evading pressure and throwing on the run. I don't really give him too much grief for missing that throw, but he missed one down the field to Rashid Shaheed that would have been a touchdown. He missed a couple others, one to, was it Cooper Kupp? He missed a couple of throws throughout the day that would have been game changers. Darnold wasn't great last night. Drake May was bad. And Drake May fumbled the football. He threw an interception. He threw two interceptions, including a pick six. That one, the pick six, that's one of those, the ball didn't bounce your way, going right into the hands of the defender who took it back for six. But Drake May was bad last night. The reason the Seahawks won is because their defense made Drake May look bad, and Sam Darnold did not turn the football over, right? Like, that's the difference in the game. Yeah, Darnold wasn't good, but Darnold also wasn't bad. Drake May was bad last night. That doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. He just played bad last night, and it's a large reason why the Patriots were really never in that game. 2181 says, dude, stop. May was terrible. Once they took his ability to run away, he had to actually be a quarterback and stay in the pocket. And yeah, he didn't really have many options down the field. He tried to force the ball a couple of times and he paid for it. So Drake May was not good. That does not mean he's a bad quarterback. It just means he had a very bad game in one of the, in the worst moment, right? In the Super Bowl, you want to have your guys playing their best. Drake May did not play his best last night. But I do want to get into Kenneth Walker because he was great last night. And I don't want to, by saying I think somebody on the defense should have won Super Bowl MVP, I'm not trying to take anything away from Kenneth Walker because Kenneth Walker was great. But the reason they won that game is because the defense was so good. I thought maybe Witherspoon should have gotten it. If they had given him the strip sack, I think he might have had a chance, but they called it an interception, which I think was the right call on the pick six. I think he would have gotten it, but Kenneth Walker was great last night, and he was great in the NFC Championship game too. I like Breece Hall, and I think Breece Hall makes more sense for the Titans just based on the connection with Robert Saleh, and that's without knowing what type of relationship they have. If Breece Hall hates Robert Saleh, then the connection doesn't matter, and he won't be coming here. But I like Kenneth Walker. And if he makes it to the market, I think the Titans should at least kick the tires on seeing if he would want to come here. Now, I think it would be tough for the Seahawks to watch what he did in the last two games of the season and say, yeah, we're going to just let him walk. The franchise tag on a running back isn't all that expensive. Even if they can't come up with an extension, I would think Kenneth Walker is going to be back in Seattle next year. But if he does hit the market, That's an interesting name for the Titans to look at as someone who could become the lead horse in that running back room.
No, absolutely. And if he does hit the free agency market, it's the Titans' due diligence to make sure, just to see, just to kind of prowl around and see if you can get him. But if you're the Seahawks, there's no way that you don't bring him back next year, considering that you lost Zach Charbonnet and you didn't have him, so that is a pivotal part of your run game, which also affects the play action. And Kenneth Walker stepped up as RB1, and I mean he carried the load of that offense yesterday. It wasn't Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold didn't do anything to hurt the team, but Kenneth Walker really carried the load of that offense. So if you're the Seahawks, I don't see a world in which you're not bringing him back next year.
Yeah, right now Spot Track has his market value at $9 million. Like, if that's all it's going to take, the Seahawks are going to sign him. Let's say they go above that and just go 4 years, $40 million. I think that's easy for the Seahawks to be able to make that move. In 2026, they have $74 million in cap space. So they're not strapped for money. I think Kenneth Walker will be back in Seattle, whether that's on the franchise tag or on an extension. But that is one of those guys that I think if when the new league year starts and that, the legal tampering period begins, if Kenneth Walker is out there, I think the Titans should be making a phone call, because that is somebody who can make things a whole lot easier on your young quarterback. Yeah, you want to get Cam Ward some wide receivers who can help him, but a good running game is just as valuable to a young quarterback as weapons on the outside. And I think Kenneth Walker would be a great move. You pair him with Tajay Spears, I think that puts you in a much better spot than you are with Tony Pollard. I know that's going to be the
Younger.
debate. Right. Do you want to keep Tony Pollard? I like Tony Pollard, and he has not been the problem the last 2 years on these 6-win teams. 3-win teams, 6 wins over 2 years. But as running backs age, unless you're Derrick Henry or one of the greats, you're going to start to take a step back. And Tony Pollard just scraping past 1,000 yards in 17 game seasons. If you can go get a running back in the market for what, $2 or $3 million more than the $9 million you're paying Tony Pollard, go do it. You can go get the younger model who's going to be more explosive, is going to give you more longevity, because you can have him as your guy for 2 or 3 more years, rather than, we've got Tony Pollard on the roster, let's just keep him for another season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 0911 says the kicker should have been MVP, but we know that wasn't going to happen.
Kicker and punter, co-MVP.
See, Dixon as the punter, he had a great game last night. Got to give credit to him. He had 3 punts that ended up inside the 10? That was well done from Michael Dixon last night. If Jason Myers had made 4 50-plus field goals in this game, I think you could have considered it. But most of the field goals he hit last night were, 30 to 45 yards. I don't think you can justify it at that point. If he was literally giving you points when it wasn't expected, sure. But just doing his job and making the 40-yard field goals that were presented to him, it's not Super Bowl MVP worthy. I think there is a situation out there where maybe a kicker deserves it. Last night was not the case. Keegan says, I think K9, Kenneth Walker, would be great due to him not really being a third down back. Would give our offense the perfect chance to play both a real starter and bring Tajay in throughout the season as a change of pace back. Don't expect him to hit the market, though. I agree. I don't think Walker's hitting it, but you're right. You look at what the Seahawks did this year with Walker and Charbonnet. I think you could come up with something similar in Nashville with Walker and Tajay Spears. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Register today for Stars Trivia Night at Boom Ba's in East Nashville on Thursday, February 19th. It will be a night full of fun, food, and prizes, all while supporting Stars Nashville, a nonprofit providing free mental health support for students in over 200 schools across Middle Tennessee. For more details and how to register, you can visit thegamenashville.com/events. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday. We'll continue to react to the Super Bowl on the other side here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. 94.9 The Fan is your home for Vanderbilt women's basketball. Tonight, the Commodores take on Oklahoma at Memorial Gym. It's an 8 o'clock tip. I'll have your pregame coverage starting at 7:45. Big one. We'll get the AP poll coming out in about an hour here, but very likely this is a top 10 matchup. Right now, Vandy number 7, Oklahoma number 11. I would expect both teams might slide up a spot or two coming up when the AP poll is released. So excited for that one. We'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the show. Going to get into college basketball at the top of the hour as well, because it was a busy weekend. A couple of tough losses for the local teams. Duke UNC living up to the hype as always. We'll talk about all of that. But finishing up on the Super Bowl here in hour number 1, Parker, what were your thoughts on just the overall product of the Super Bowl last night? I enjoyed the NBC coverage in general. I thought Mike Tirico was great in his first Super Bowl. Chris Collinsworth is always kind of a polarizing guy as the color commentator, right? Like some people love him. Some people don't like the shtick of, now here's a guy. And I didn't hear if he mentioned Patrick Mahomes in the game.
I don't think he did, which would be a first.
Right. We're turning a new corner with Chris Collinsworth, but I thought it was a good broadcast overall. I liked the pregame coverage. I thought Maria Taylor did great. I thought that was really cool that Maria Taylor and Mike McDonald went to high school together. Like, how cool is that?
And went to the University of Georgia, or were there at the same time.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I knew that they went to the same high school. So I thought overall the product was pretty good from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean, everything besides the game I thought was fantastic. With NBC, I feel like they always do a great job with their broadcast. I think the Football Night in America pregame, halftime, postgame is phenomenal. Maria Taylor does an exceptional job. I love the analysts that they have. Mike Tirico is a legend, and he did a great job calling the game last night. And then not too long after, they did a little Olympics coverage, and he did it from the field in San Francisco. So that was fantastic. And Chris Collinsworth, I know why some people probably don't like him because of here's a guy and all that. I think he knows the game very well. So I appreciate that. And I don't have a huge problem with him. But overall, I thought NBC did a fantastic job. And by the way, this is nerd stuff, but the score bug was so much better than last year's.
That's what I think I was talking about it on Friday. Like, it is just super inside baseball to care about the score bug, but I enjoy that every Super Bowl you get a new one and it sticks around for a few years, which is cool. I thought NBC does a good job. I would put it up there with the best when they get the Super Bowl, and Tirico did a great job. Commercials, there weren't a ton that were super memorable. I'm trying to think specifically about any that were good.
The Lay's.
The Lay's one was good.
The Budweiser. Those were probably the top two for me.
Those were both kind of like the tearjerker ones, right? And then the Dunkin' one got a lot of chatter about it. The Goodwill Dunkin'. I thought that one was fine. The AI like transformation of the actors' faces was not great. But
that was very obvious about the
right.
AI.
I mean,
too obvious.
The Joey Tribbiani, Matt LeBlanc, who is going back in time as Joey Tribbiani, that was not great. But overall, I thought it was a decent Super Bowl. Again, the commercials year after year, I think they get less memorable. Like, I can still remember some of the commercials from when I was like 8. Like, one of my favorite ones was the Bud Light Magic Fridge one. I don't know if you remember that, where it was like they had the
Peyton Manning in that one.
No, I don't. Maybe it was. This was from like 2008 or 2009, where like they had the rotating fridge that would go through the wall, and the guys on the other side of the wall, they're like, "Oh my God, this fridge filled with Bud Light just appears randomly." I thought I still remember that one. I still remember some other ones from the past, but I think the commercials as they've gone along have gotten worse. I think you're getting less creativity when it comes to the commercials.
Well, so last night at our Super Bowl party, we had a lot of friends from my wife's school at Belmont that they're not big football people. So in order to keep them entertained throughout the whole night, we had commercial bingo, where if a commercial popped up, you see it on your bingo card, cross it off. and the girls checked out in the second half because they weren't into the commercials,
Right.
which was sad. So, but it's still a fun night. But I agree, the commercials were not. It seems like every year they get a little less and less memorable. We got to talk about the halftime show. What did you think of the halftime show?
See, I thought it was fine, right? Like I thought the set was kind of cool. They had the celebrity guest appearances. Like a Lady Gaga obviously sang, but there was
Alex Earl was there.
Alex Earl was there.
Pedro
Jessica
Pascal.
Alba, Pedro Pascal. Ronald Acuna Jr. was
I
in the
know he
background.
made a little cameo.
I thought that was kind of cool. It was fine. Again, I said it on Friday. Like I don't know a ton of Bad Bunny music, but like again, I don't watch the game for the Super Bowl, like that for the halftime show. Like it's something to have on in the background. I thought it was fine. Nothing great, but it wasn't terrible. I enjoyed some of it. The one that we're forgetting, people have been texting in the tight ends one, the prostate commercial. That one, not only very informative and like necessary, but I thought it was well done. And we got a Delaney Walker appearance in there, which I thought was pretty cool. So that was probably the most memorable one of the night. I agree. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, we're never getting the funny, good commercials again. Let's just be happy we got to live them. Yeah, it's true. Doritos always used to have good ones too. Like they had the time machine one where it was like my time machine runs on Doritos, and the little kid steals it, but then there's an old man standing outside and he thinks it actually worked. That one was pretty good. The halftime commercials, there's still value to them. It's just not quite what we remember it to be.
Yeah, and there were still some good ones. I was disappointed we didn't get Avengers Doomsday. I thought that might happen.
Yeah. Well, there was did we get whatever the new Star Wars one we got?
The
Mandalorian
one.
Yeah.
So that's a movie. I didn't know it was going to be a movie. I thought it was just going to be a TV show. But yeah, we got the movie. As far as the halftime, I thought, the set was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love how he had the guys dancing off of the telephone poles or whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody made a comment that was NES. And I just started cackling.
I saw Big Joe said he said that they're paying tribute to Nashville.
Right. That was funny.
That was pretty good.
But it was hard for me to properly enjoy it because I couldn't understand anything.
Right. No, and that's true. It's like I don't speak Spanish. I did not know I don't know a lot of the songs, but like in terms of the presentation, I thought it was pretty good. I thought they made it look good out there.
And Bad Bunny, the way he was holding the football, the 5 points of contact, that was pretty sound technique right there.
I saw that somebody did the next gen stats on it and said that he ran the 124 yards with the football,
which was close to what Kenneth Walker did.
There you go. Keegan mentions Puppy Monkey Baby. That's a great commercial from the past. Matthew in Nashville says the E-Trade Baby. That one was really good too.
I know. Yeah, Mr. Beast had a commercial yesterday that was pretty tough.
Yeah, it was like giving away $1 million or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then there were the weird crypto ones too.
Yeah, lots of crypto.
I miss the old days. Pepperidge Farm remembers the old commercials. Great
there was
stuff.
a Skittles or Nerds one last year that was pretty good, or 2 years ago that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there are always bright spots. I just thought the 3332 mentions the Jurassic Park one. That I thought that was pretty good too. There were some decent ones, but there were the high points that we were used to back in like the 2010s and the 2000s.
I probably like the Lay's one the best.
Yeah,
the Lay's or Budweiser.
Yeah,
those were the two tearjerkers. So.
Those ones always will get you. 615-737-1025. We'll talk plenty more Super Bowl throughout the show. But now that the Super Bowl is over, Parker, you know what that means.
5 weekends from now.
It's college basketball
5
season.
weekends from now. We get brackets.
And we did get some very interesting results over the weekend for both of the local teams and, of course, Duke UNC. It always delivers. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. The Super Bowl is in the books. Seahawks beat the Patriots last night, and we will have much more discussion about the Super Bowl and what the NFL looks like heading towards the 2026 season, as Super Bowl odds for next year already out. The Seahawks and Rams are tied at the top. So we'll talk more about that later on in the show. But as Parker and I discussed heading into the break, when the Super Bowl ends, that means it's time for our national attention to shift to college basketball. We are less than 5 weeks away from getting a bracket for March Madness, and it was a busy weekend around college basketball. Let's start with the local teams, and we'll start with Vanderbilt. Vandy coming off a week away. Oklahoma coming to town. Oklahoma had lost, 9 in a row heading into that game. Porter Moser on the hot seat. And it just wasn't a good game for Vanderbilt. Still missing Frankie Collins, still missing Duke Miles, and they fell behind, down by 20 plus at one point in that game. I could not believe they almost made a comeback. I was over at TSU. I was calling their men's game on Saturday, and I just checked the score during one of the commercial breaks, and I saw it was like 81-61, and I was like, man, that's tough, and kind of thought it was over. And when I got home, I checked it and saw 92-91. The Doors are they're a better team than what they showed on Saturday, but that is a really tough loss. A quad 3 loss at home against Oklahoma. That's one of those games that the committee might look at in March and move you down a seed line because of it. It's one that Mark Byington's team is going to have to learn from as they get back in action coming up next week.
It's one of those inexcusable losses that you kind of sleepwalk through. You know, Gonzaga had one against Portland earlier this week, and then you have a team that, you're right, had lost 9 in a row, was bottom of the SEC, and you're at home in Memorial. You should not have lost. And Oklahoma tried to do everything. I didn't get to watch much of the first half, but I watched most of the second half, and they couldn't get an inbounds pass. And they were just like overwhelmed by the Vanderbilt pressure. And Vanderbilt, credit to them, did fight back and cut this thing to 1. And Tyler Tanner made some huge shots down the stretch. But it was just one of those head-scratching losses where it looked like Vanderbilt just sleptwalked through it.
Yeah, and it's tough because the way the season started for Vanderbilt, when you win 17 straight games and everybody's kind of looking at you like, all right, not only is this a much improved Vanderbilt team in year 2 under Mark Byington, this is a team that could be an SEC championship contender, could be a top 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. And those expectations maybe weren't realistic from what this team was heading into the season. There's a lot of really good players on this team, but with the injuries and playing it in the SEC, which isn't as deep as it was last year, but still a really tough conference, you're going to take some losses. I think you'd rather have this stretch of the last month where there's been some inconsistent play from the Commodores right now, and hopefully you can get healthy and get back to being that team that was considered one of the top teams in not just the SEC, but in the country when March rolls around in a couple of weeks.
But it just goes to show, too, even though the SEC is kind of having a down year in terms of the amount of teams that will make the NCAA tournament, bracketology the other day, I think as of right now, I think it's fair to say 9 teams at least from the SEC get in. They're not getting the 14 mark like they did last year, but it goes to show that you can't sleepwalk through any games in this conference, even if it's the bottom feeder and they're coming into your building and they've lost 9 in a row. You can't sleepwalk through anything. And really that goes for any conferences. Did you think Portland was going to beat Gonzaga?
No.
So, I mean, it just goes to show that you can't sleepwalk through any of these games. BYU can't sleepwalk going to Stillwater in Oklahoma State. So, Vanderbilt's got to get right after this loss, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Joe Lunardi has not updated his bracketology yet. I believe a new update will come tomorrow, but as of now, he has 10 SEC teams in. Texas and Georgia are right there on the bubble. Right now, he has Tennessee as a 5 seed, and Vanderbilt is where is Vanderbilt? They're somewhere in here. 4 seed. Vanderbilt's a 4 seed. So I think that's probably about where these two teams end up. And we can talk about Tennessee as well, Parker, that it's a tough one. 14-point lead at halftime, and you can't hold on the road against Kentucky. Kentucky has been kind of the definition of inconsistent this year. It's like they'll have games where they look like the talented team that they are, and other games where, kind of like you said, they sleepwalk through it and they end up losing games that they shouldn't, or they end up losing games by 20. That's a tough loss for Tennessee, though. The good news for Tennessee is that they've got a little bit of cushion here over the next few games. And like we were saying, you've got to show up for every game in the SEC, but they've got, I want to say, LSU and Mississippi State and I think Oklahoma coming up in their next 3. Vanderbilt, it's a little bit tougher. They've got to go to Auburn this week and then come back home and play Texas A&M, who's been one of the better teams across the conference this season. So for Vanderbilt, you're going to need to see a response. And they've done a good job of that throughout the season. After those couple of tough games that they had, their first couple of losses to Texas, to Florida, they were able to bounce back and get some big wins and emphatic wins against Mississippi State and Kentucky. They've got to be able to respond, and probably still not going to be at full strength when they face the Tigers and the Aggies this week.
I'm sorry, I was taking the phone. You're still talking about Tennessee?
No, I'm talking about Vandy now. Just
okay.
The Vols, I think right now you look at their schedule over the next couple weeks, and there's time for them to kind of find their footing, because they play LSU, they play Mississippi State, they play Oklahoma. Vanderbilt's got to respond in a big way with some of the games they have coming up. I know Auburn's not the Auburn of last year, but that's still a really tough place to go play against what is a very talented team.
Yeah, and Auburn's still, I mean, they have Todd Pettiford. They have the Keyshawn Hall, who's, one of the leading scorers in the SEC. So Auburn's still a good basketball team. LSU, I'm not convinced is a good basketball team.
Right.
Their record may indicate that they might be decent, but they're not good. I don't think they're that good. So several opportunities down the stretch for Vanderbilt to get right, and you got to win if you want to still be on that 3 line. Might be a stretch, but 4 line is doable.
I think Vandy, you're looking to be a top 4 seed, and that gets you the inside track at reaching the second weekend if you're the 4 seed. I think that's realistic, but Vandy's you gotta hope they can get healthy. I know Frankie Collins, there's been some talk about when he's going to be back, and he's missed basically the entire season. He played the first 7 games or so and hasn't been back. But Duke Miles is the big name. They need him back in a big way. Tyler Tanner, Tyler Nickel, really good players, but you need to have that extra scoring option, and Duke Miles being on the bench, being injured, has been tough. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines. Dr. Locke is on the line. Thanks for calling, Dr. Locke. Good morning.
What's up? Good morning, fellas. So, yeah, the hangover that is the day after Super Bowl, we all have to pivot, and it's college basketball season. So this is where your show is going to. You've already got a head jump on it with all the support you give Vanderbilt. If anybody's gonna tune in and listen to Vanderbilt athletics, they need to be turning into this hour.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we love to talk some Vandy. Both the hoops teams look like they'll be not just tournament teams, but maybe tournament contenders.
This year it'll be an interesting SEC tournament because there is no dominant SEC team. I mean, Kentucky's unranked, Tennessee's unranked. Now Vandy, is going to be it's going to be a ranked, but maybe a low 20s, if they're in. So there is no. I mean, what is the dominant SEC team? What would you say it is? I mean, A&M's not ranked.
Florida.
Yeah, I was going to say Florida's probably the best team.
Florida is still very much sticking around.
Where are they ranked? Like 13, 14, 15?
Yeah, they're kind of like
they were 17 last week,
right?
But they'll climb up.
They're in the teens
because BYU and Vanderbilt lost, who were ahead of them.
So the SEC might put one 2 seed. Florida could possibly get up to a 2 seed. But other than that, I mean, it's a wide open SEC so the SEC tournament this year will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you might see a lot more upsets in the SEC tournament this year. And you look around, I'm looking at bracketology. Parker, there's only 2 SEC teams who are projected to be top 4 seeds in their region.
Vanderbilt and
Florida. That's it. Tennessee is a 5 seed. Arkansas is a 6. You got a couple in like the 8-9 range. So Alabama's a 5. So
Where's Tennessee? You said
Tennessee's
6?
a 5.
Oh, 5? Okay.
As of right now. This is from before the weekend, though.
Question, guys. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of other listeners that don't know. If you could, when I hang up, what is a quad 1, quad 2, and a quad 3 loss? I hear that terminology thrown around, and I never really knew what defined each of those. What is that?
Yeah, that is a good question, and we can go through that here because it is part of the net rankings. The quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 wins versus losses, and it's all based on where the team is ranked in the net and where the game is played. So I believe a quad 1 win or a quad 1 game is if you're facing a team that is ranked in the top 25 at home, the top 50 at a neutral site, the top 75 away. But that's only in the men's game. In the women's side, quad 1 is top 25 at home, top 35 on a neutral site, top 45 on the road. So it's a little bit more specific, but that is kind of how it works with the quadrant system. And it goes so on and so forth. Quadrant 2 would be, 25 through 75 at home. And that's basically what it is. It's all based on the net rankings to give quality of victories to these teams. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll dive a little bit deeper on the Vols on the other side after a loss to Kentucky over the weekend. What is the identity of Rick Barnes' team as we come down the stretch of the season? And can this team start to figure things out as we head towards the last couple of games in SEC play? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll also get to your phones. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. So close yet so far to hearing this music again. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Plenty of reaction to the Super Bowl today, but as we get to the end of football season, we turn our attention to college basketball. And lots of big games over the weekend. We went through Vanderbilt falling in a close one against Oklahoma, nearly pulled off a ridiculous comeback, and the Vols blowing a lead on the road at Kentucky. Tough loss to the Wildcats. We'll continue to talk about both those teams, but first let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Clay is called in. Clay, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Jake, how are we doing?
Doing great. How are you?
By the way, Jake, I'm going to mention maybe something about the men, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the women. I thought that would be apropos since you do the games. By the way, I do listen sometimes, and I think you do a really good job. So I watched a good bit of the replay of the Kentucky game, and I wanted to say something about Michaela. This young lady to me, Jake, the Kentucky game especially, there's nights when maybe her shot might not be falling and maybe she's trying to get others involved too. But when it comes to, like money time, correct me if I'm wrong, I think maybe from the middle of the third quarter against Kentucky till the end of the game, didn't she score about 22 points? Because didn't she end up with like 37?
She scored 19 in the fourth quarter and only missed one shot.
Pretty impressive. Another reason why I wanted to mention that, I wanted to say that I met her at game day. I'm pretty sure the whole women's team was there, but yes. I had a conversation with her. Really nice young lady.
No, she's the best.
Not just one of the best women's basketball players in the country, in my opinion. We'll switch to the men. Obviously, really disappointed about Saturday. I thought Coach Byington was pretty honest after the game about sometimes I think a week off can, kind of make a team come out a little bit rusty. Maybe that was part of it. But he mentioned, how the message just didn't really get across. And the health of this team right now is really a concern because, healthy, this team has proved that they're a really good basketball team. And I've kind of been hoping to at least make the Sweet 16, but I think it's really key to get healthy, and you need to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season.
No, it's a good point, Clay. And I think with the men, yes, it's okay to be disappointed by some of the results that you've seen. Texas was a tough one. Oklahoma was tough. Florida was a great game back and forth. You just came up on the wrong end of. But I think it is fair to say what this team has done healthy makes you have a little bit of optimism for if they can get the full squad back out there, that this team could be capable of making a run in March.
Yeah. And I'd love to see. I don't really know what's going on with Frankie because, as I thought, he was cleared to play after the Ole Miss game. But, Duke, I think, hopefully will be back. I don't know, but I would think he would be back hopefully sooner rather than later. I don't know if you know anything about that. But
yeah, thanks for the call, Clay. I think that the injury stuff, I know Mark Byington talked about it, and I think there was thought of we don't really know the timetable on either of those guys. I had seen some of the Frankie Collins stuff, whether he had been cleared to play. I have no idea. There's no way to speculate on that or guess. It's just going to be, they put out those availability reports before the games, and you just got to wait until hopefully one of those guys isn't listed as out, right? And Mark Byington seemed optimistic that they'd get both of those guys back at some point during the season. And if they do, I think a fully healthy Vanderbilt team has proven that they can play with some of the best teams in the country. Did want to mention what Clay mentioned about the women's team. Michaela Blake's unbelievable down the stretch in games that Vanderbilt needs to win. It just feels like there's moments when she says, we are going to win this game, and I'm going to make sure that Vanderbilt wins this game. And she did that on Thursday against Kentucky. Again, another big one tonight against Oklahoma. 8 o'clock tip over at Memorial Gym. I'll have your coverage on 94.9 The Fan at 7:45. Looking around the world of college basketball, Parker, an interesting weekend, because I think you look at the top of the country, and Arizona still undefeated. We're the number one team in the nation right now. Michigan, the way they've played lately, I think is pretty clearly your number two. You saw UConn and Duke both lose this weekend. UConn falls to St. John's back on Friday, and then Duke in another all-time classic in the Tobacco Road rivalry. Duke and UNC just never fails to deliver. Even when you look and you say, yeah, Duke is definitely the better team, they always find a way to have a classic in that matchup. And what a finish from North Carolina to get the win.
Yeah, they overcame I believe, 13-point deficit. So the most points they've ever overcome to win, I think, in the rivalry's history, but it never fails. It never fails. And when they were showing the stats, leading up to it, whether it was College Game Day or at halftime or whatever, the last 120 matchups, Duke had won 60, North Carolina had won 60. The national titles are split dead even. The amount of points scored against each other, all these stats are just dead even. So it never fails to live up. And I love how they were talking about, you can't truly understand this rivalry as a spectator unless you've played in it. And it's it was so fun to watch.
I mean, the finish to that game with UNC battling back, but still looking like there wasn't really much of a chance for them to come back, hitting some threes late, and then the drive and kick into the corner. Trimble hits the three, and the double court storm was something. They've got to find a way to control that. When I thought with the naked eye watching it, it was pretty clear that the ball went through the net with time left on the clock. Like, you did not see the red light immediately after that ball went down. I understand these are college kids and they're not paying attention to that. They're paying attention to, we just hit a three to beat Duke. But man, the safety and the logistics of having to clear the court off, people spilled stuff all over the floor, and go out there with 0.4 seconds left and see if Duke can make a prayer fall. That was, I don't know how they fix that, because again, the clock operator, if he stops it, even if it's late, but if he stops it before the buzzer sounds, you don't get that court storm. But because the buzzer went off, you had to deal with that complete chaotic scenario of 1,000 people on the floor and having to clear them back into their seats so Duke can try and run a play with 0.4 seconds left.
Yeah, and they just seemed completely unprepared for that. And John Shire went off about it in his post game, because that happened before. I believe it was against Wake Forest, where they stormed the court after beating Duke, and Cooper Flagg ends up getting hurt. So that's something that he's very keenly aware of.
No, it's a safety issue, and that I get it. There's not much you can do when the buzzer goes off. Everybody thinks the game is over, and UNC just pulled off the upset with a buzzer beater. People are going to storm the floor. It just, there has to be better safeguards in place when clearly the game was not over yet.
And one of Duke's assistants got punched in the face too.
Right.
So
that was a mess, but a classic college basketball game nonetheless. 615-737-1025. College basketball season. I think we all can agree that is like the next big thing on the calendar. I know that the Olympics are going on right now, and of course, every few years, that's huge during this time. But just in the collective American sports fans calendar, after the Super Bowl, I think we all start to look forward to March Madness, and it's coming up quick. 5 weeks away from a bracket. And again, big game tonight on the women's side. If you have, if you want to come out, make some plans on a Monday night. I know it might be a little bit of a caffeine special with the 8 o'clock tip, but going to be great basketball. You've got two of the top 11 teams in the country as it stands right now. I think it'll be top 10 coming up in about 30 minutes here. You've got Michaela Blakes, Reagan Beers for Oklahoma. Going to be a great game. I implore you to come out. If you can't, you can tune in with us. 7:45 pregame show on 94.9 The Fan. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Back into football on the other side. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN put out an Intel article yesterday ahead of the Super Bowl, and there was an interesting note about the Titans in there. We will talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Reaction Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Reaction Monday after the Super Bowl. Seahawks beat the Patriots last night. What was not a real close game from start to finish. Seahawks defense dominates, and Seattle takes home the Lombardi. It was interesting yesterday. I was looking through ESPN, and Jeremy Fowler put out kind of a news and notes, what we're hearing as we head towards the offseason. And there was some thoughts on Max Crosby in there. But he did mention the Titans. And as we look ahead to what the Titans might do in free agency, Jeremy Fowler writes, that he thinks the Titans and Raiders could both be aggressive when it comes to free agents at wide receiver, excuse me. So I think that's interesting to see that the buzz out there is that the Titans are going to be in the wide receiver market in free agency. George Pickens is now off the board, as it was reported this weekend that he is expected to be franchise tagged. So I don't know exactly what that means when you look at aggressive in free agency for wide receivers. Does that mean that the Raiders and Titans will be going hard after Alec Pierce maybe if he hits free agency? But I do like to see it that the Titans, if they're going to go after wide receivers in the free agent market, maybe that means they're leaning towards a pass rusher with the 4th overall pick, at least as it stands with 2 months to go till draft day.
At first, I thought you said that the Titans were going to be aggressive in going after Max Crosby, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Sorry, I'll let you know.
That's not what he said. But Jawan Jennings, Wan'Dale Robinson, Alec Pierce, I think, are 3 guys that would be great on the Titans next year. That would just make sense. Wan'Dale Robinson had the connections with Brian Dable, so if he liked playing for him, then it might be enticing to come here to Nashville. Jawan Jennings, Tennessee guy. Alec Pierce, a true speed threat, very good at using his body for contested catches. He had sort of a breakout year, or not the year that people were expecting, but a pretty good year. So those are 3 guys absolutely that I could see fitting in with the Titans. And if I were them, I'd absolutely go after them.
Yeah, here are the exact words from Jeremy Fowler. He says, speaking of the Colts, my sense is their priority will be Daniel Jones, followed by receiver Alec Pierce as a 1B option. So that'll be interesting. Also mentions the Colts tagged Michael Pittman 2 years ago as a way to facilitate a long-term deal that could be on the table for Pierce. But he does mention that if he's looking at teams that could be interested in top wide receivers, the Titans and Raiders should both be in that conversation. Both desperately need a difference maker on the outside. For Max Crosby, since we did mention him, they did mention some names of teams that could be interested in making a move: the Bills, the Lions, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Buccaneers. All of those teams in a little bit of an advanced phase of their build for a Super Bowl window than the Titans are. So looking at wide receivers, I think you mentioned a lot of the names out there. If Alec Pierce does get tagged, which I think it's kind of leaning that way, that the Colts aren't going to let him out of the building. I mean, he averaged like 20 yards per catch last year. I think that's valuable enough to a team that Indianapolis isn't going to be looking to say, we can find that somewhere else. I think they're going to find a way to keep Alec Pierce in Indy. So you're right. That leaves you with Romeo Doubs, Jawan Jennings, Wan'Dale Robinson as the top names. And I think Jawan Jennings is my favorite out of that group. I wouldn't mind Romeo Doubs. I think that would be a good option. I just think Jennings, you're right. The ties to, he played at Tennessee. He's from Murfreesboro. There's too much there to make you think that they should go somewhere else. I think Jawan Jennings also fits what the Titans could be looking for in a wide receiver. That would be my top guy at wide receiver if the Titans are going to get quote unquote aggressive. And with Spot Track putting the market value on Jawan Jennings so high, I do wonder if that would be the move that Fowler's hinting at, of a possible $15 to $18 million a year type of deal for the Titans and Jawan Jennings.
Yeah, no, that is something interesting to think about. However, I do think, depending on finding the right number, I think it would be worth it. You have a lot of money to spend now. That doesn't mean that you go spend it all at once. That's why, you're not going after a George Pickens type. And I know that he's going to be franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys, but those seem like 3 reasonably priced receivers with production. You don't want these raw guys that you have to develop. I feel like they're pretty proven for the most part at this stage in their career. They're probably in their prime too as players, especially Wan'Dale Robinson, who probably just entered it. So those are 3 guys that I would definitely consider, and I believe the Titans will.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are probably your top 3 names at that point. Let's look at some other free agent wide receivers for 2026, because maybe the Titans, if they strike out on some of the top names, maybe there's some guys who might be better on a 1-year deal that you could bring in. Deebo Samuel might make sense, depending on his relationship with Robert Saleh. Like, I don't think that's a guy you bring in at 30 years old and sign him to a 4-year deal. But if you could get him on a 1 to 2 year, like $25 million over 2 years, I wouldn't hate that. Let's see. Well, George Pickens is off the board. I like Rashid Shaheed, but again, I feel like it's kind of repetitive.
He's more so a special teams guy.
Right. You already have that with Chimdike as your burner and returner type of player. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but that's kind of that's what Chim is. And I think Rashid Shaheed fits that mold as well. I don't think Mike Evans gets out of Tampa. Like maybe he retires, but I don't think he's leaving there. And then there's really not a whole lot of great names down the board. Like you get down to Hollywood Brown, Christian Kirk, Jalen Naylor. Like these are good depth guys, maybe if you believe. And the question becomes, how much do you believe in Alec Iamaner? I think is going to depend a lot on what the Titans do in free agency, because you're not finding a wide receiver 1 in free agency. You might find a wide receiver 2. If you're going to get a wide receiver 1 this year, it's going to have to come in the draft, whether that's at 4 or at 35. So you're looking for a wide receiver 2. Now, if you believe that Alec Iamaner is going to blossom into that type of player this year, then maybe a depth guy in the same vein of a Van Jefferson would make sense, right? Like a guy who can kind of be a holdover until you believe Alec can take that next step. I think what the Titans do in free agency, honestly, is going to tell us a ton about what they think of Alec Iamaner moving forward.
And I still think that he can be, I think his ceiling is pretty good wide receiver 2. It's still, you still have to go out and get somebody. And whether that's free agency, whether that's the draft, and if the Titans had a little bit of a higher draft pick, I'd probably say there would be, I'd feel more comfortable that there would be a trade back partner where you could probably acquire a pass rusher and a top tier wide receiver, whether that be early in the second round or whatever. But given that there are more QB needy teams than there are QB ready prospects in this draft, I don't know what the trade back market will look like.
Yeah, unless one of these prospects at the top, like let's say it's a tackle that's sitting there at 4 and somebody wants to come up and take a tackle like Fano or Maui Noah. Like if one of those guys is sitting there and a team at 8 or 9 says, hey, we really need this tackle, let's move up. That's a situation, like there are non-quarterback trade-ups in the draft. It's just not quite as obvious that it's going to happen, and you won't know about it until the Titans are on the clock. But it's not impossible for the Titans to trade down. And you're right. I think if the Titans trade down, they're trading down to take a wide receiver. You're not trading down to take a pass rusher because you would just take one at 4. Adam in Portland says maybe the Raiders will go after Calvin Ridley after we cut him. That would be nice and help everybody out there. They like fast guys who can't really do anything else, and they also like injured guys, so he's the perfect fit. Yeah, the Ridley situation is going to be one to watch over the next couple of weeks. I think we're all very confident that L'Jarius Sneed is getting cut. That one seems to be the easiest decision the Titans have to make when it comes to cap casualties. The two that you keep your eye on, Pollard and Ridley. Do the Titans want to keep those guys around? I lean no on both. Pollard, I think, is more likely to stick around. Ridley, I would put it at about 90% that he gets cut. It's not 100% because I do think there is the thought process that could go through the Titans building of, we're paying this guy $24 million a year. Is there somebody else out there that we're going to be able to get for cheaper who is better than Calvin Ridley? And I don't know. Like, you might have to pay Juwan Jennings like $18 million a year if you want to go get him. You're paying Calvin Ridley 23. Is Juwan Jennings that much better than Calvin Ridley? I don't know. That's a question that you have to ask, because there's also dead cap for Calvin Ridley too, so that factors in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember that when the Titans signed him, they're able to get out of it. right after
right. There is
clean
dead
cut?
cap. No, it's not. It's not quite as clean. Like you look at Dan Moore's contract, and it's literally zero dead cap if they cut him after 2026. But for Ridley, you cut him, you save. So the cap hit this year is 26.7 million. You'd incur 13 million in dead cap. So you'd save about half that money. It'd be 14 million in savings, 13 million in dead cap. So if you go get somebody for $14 million a year, you're basically paying the same amount this season as you're paying Calvin Ridley with the dead cap. Do you think you're finding an upgrade in free agency? I think that becomes the question. Calvin Ridley's been a disappointment for sure since he's been there, but there's still traits there that you like. He's familiar with the building. He's familiar with Cam Ward. And if you don't think there's a free agent out there who's going to be better than Calvin Ridley, it might make sense to keep him. I still say 90% chance he's cut, but 10% is still an okay chance that he sticks around. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll wrap up hour number 2 on the other side, continuing to talk about some of the Titans' possible options at wide receiver. In the 11 o'clock hour, the Super Bowl is over, which means it's time to take a way too early look at next year in the NFL. Who are the Super Bowl contenders? Could it be even more wide open than it was this season? We'll talk about it throughout the final hour of the show. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, wrapping up the second hour on this reaction. Monday, Titans offseason begins now, and it's a big one. Lots of cap space at their disposal, high draft pick. We'll have to see what Mike Borgonzi does, and we're reacting to the report yesterday. Jeremy Fowler, in a news and notes around the Super Bowl article, said the Raiders and Titans will have his attention for free agent wide receivers. So we were going through some of the options there. I mentioned Calvin Ridley sticking around as a possible option. I think it's unlikely, but it depends on how this coaching staff, how Mike Borgonzi views the class of free agent wide receivers, and whether they think they're getting an upgrade somewhere over Calvin Ridley, and whether Calvin Ridley in general can stay healthy, because that's been an issue for him for a long time. B. French in the YouTube chat asked, what is the hit if L'Jarius Sneed gets cut? When L'Jarius Sneed gets cut, it will be a $20 million in dead cap. So about a $12 million net. That'll get the Titans close to 110 in cap space when they make that move. That one feels obvious and matter of when, not if, that L'Jarius Sneed is cut. Parker, I don't know if you've seen, there's like a new website out there that somebody put together where you can simulate the entire offseason. It's not just a mock draft simulator. It lets you go through cuts and you get trade offers and you can go through free agency and the draft. I wonder if maybe that would be a fun exercise to do sometime this week on the show.
I'm all for it.
Just go through and see what we can do with the Titans in one
of
offseason.
These Madden simulators.
Right. I mean, it's probably not super realistic, but just give an idea of, with what the Titans have, how much they can improve the roster. Maybe we'll do that with Dr. Crane tomorrow. We'll see. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Spencer is on the line. Spencer, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. I listen to y'all every now and again. I'm not just flip between the radio stations, but Chiefs fan here. But of course, growing up in Titans Nation area, I was listening as far as with y'all's wide receiver options and stuff, and especially the free agents y'all was talking about, and then trying to find somebody for a year to cheat. What do y'all think about it? None of those options work out. What if the Titans go for OBJ for like a 1 or 2 year? And I hang up and listen.
It's an interesting thought. I think, did Odell Beckham like officially retire this year?
I don't think he officially retired, but no is my answer. Just quick answer.
I would say no. When was the last time he played? He was with the Dolphins last, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So he played.
Did he spend time with the Ravens too?
He did.
After the Rams.
So
after he won the Super Bowl with the Rams.
So he won the Super Bowl with the Rams in 2021. He was traded mid-year from Cleveland. That year he had 44 catches for 537 yards and 5 touchdowns. Then with Baltimore, he had 35 catches for 565 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2023. He only played in 9 games in 2024 and did not play this past year. I'm going to go with no on that one. OBJ, really good player. He had 1,300 plus yards in his first 3 seasons in the league. He has not had more than 1052 since 2017. So I think it's pretty safe to say if you brought him in, it would you're not getting much production, and you're probably not getting.
The Titans don't need to do that again.
That's it. Yeah. The Titans are already the retirement home for wide receivers.
Already tried it with Julio.
You don't need to bring in somebody from the retirement home to be on your team. But I mean, I like the out of the box thinking. My dad actually just texted me. He's a 49ers fan, and he said Brandon Ayuk is going to be moved at some point, but doubt Robert Saleh would touch him with a 10-foot pole. And I agree with that. Well, right. And Robert Saleh was in that building where if you looked quick enough outside the window, you could see Brandon Ayuk speeding by at 120 miles an hour. So I don't think that would be something the Titans would entertain. Brandon Ayuk will get moved, and I think somebody will take a chance on him. But somebody who was in that building and saw the discord that went on with Brandon Ayuk, I really doubt that Robert Saleh would be like, yeah, sign me up for that in year 1 of my make or break chance with the Titans. Let's get Brandon Ayuk in here. So the out of the box solutions at wide receiver, I'm for them. I don't think I would be for OBJ or Brandon Ayuk. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dustin in Hopkinsville is called in. Dustin, thanks for calling. What you got?
Yeah, good morning, guys. See, I was all over just, total offense for a while, in the draft free agents or pick up pieces and parts for the defense in the draft or free agency. But, man, after watching last night's game, and I know May is a second-year quarterback, and there's a lot still missing on that team. But the way they got to him, if you just disrupt the quarterback the whole game, they can't get a good offense going, we got to go after Bain. Either that or you got to trade back. Like you said, you're not going to get the assets as if you're a 1 or 2 pick, but, man, shoot, if we get that D-line worked out and Bain's on the team and get nasty like that, we make it a lot easier on Cam Ward not to have to score as much. But OBJ and Ridley, just go on and get me Evans if we're going to do that. I mean, I'm looking for a guy to build these other guys, and there's nobody better in the league as far as keeping their mouth shut, playing ball, and always giving it their all than Mike Evans. Now, I would rather somebody younger, but the plan for me is you got to get Bain if he's there, which I think he will be. And then you have to hone in on one of these wide receivers. And you cannot afford, once you hone in on one, not to get them. So you're going to have to be willing to practically sell the farm to get them. You're going to have to put a number out there that's better than everybody else's. And then you go around and fix everything else. But we desperately need a good weapon for Cam Ward to start developing a good offense. And it needs to happen next year, not later. And we still need to draft one, a wide receiver, if not a couple. And then corner's terrible because we traded them all off. But if Saleh is good or better than Wilson, we'll be set. And I wonder how much better he will be than Wilson, because that dude's a dog, man. But, yeah, get Bain and go after and be dead set. We're getting this wide receiver we're holding in on at all costs, because that's the one place I'm willing to overpay, because you don't know what you're going to get in free agency. You don't know how they're going to transfer from college to NFL, and I feel like that's the best piece that you could get, Cam Ward.
No, and lots of good points there, Dustin. I think you can start with the Seahawks proved that if you can get to the quarterback with 4, and on the other side, you don't make mistakes, you can go win a Super Bowl. The Titans, 2021, they had that defensive line that could get to you with 4, and that was a really good defense. But the quarterback made mistakes, and you lost. Sam Darnold didn't turn the ball over in 3 games. Sam Darnold was really good in the NFC Championship game. He wasn't really good last night, but it was good enough because the defense was good, and he did not hurt the team by making mistakes. And that was enough to win them the Super Bowl last night. So I agree with Dustin there that getting a pass rusher who you can pair with Jeffrey Simmons, like a Reuben Bain, it would be a big deal. Wide receiver is going to be the focal point of this offseason, because for Mike Borgonzi, it's a position that you have to be able to upgrade for your young quarterback. You have to get better weapons for Cam Ward. It's just a matter of how you go about it when there isn't an elite guy out there on the market, at least not one that you wouldn't have to give up draft capital for. I mean, we've heard rumblings of Justin Jefferson being available. Titans aren't in position to be trading away early picks to go get Justin Jefferson. I think it's going to be them focusing in on a wide receiver that they like, who's going to be their late first round, early second round. Maybe the Titans have to trade up to go get a wide receiver, but I think that is where Mike Borgonzi is going to be focused, to go get the guy who can eventually be the number 1 for Cam Ward. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One more hour to go on this reaction Monday. The Seahawks are Super Bowl champs. Next year is just around the corner. Let's look around the NFL in what could be another wide open season across the league. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Super Bowl 60 in the books. Seahawks beat the Patriots last night. Seattle takes home the Lombardi in a game that was dominated by defense. No touchdowns until the fourth quarter. So Seattle, unexpected, at least from what we thought at the beginning of the year, takes home the championship. And it's always fun, 7 months before we get back to football, to take a look at what next year is going to look like. And of course, the draft and free agency and all the movement of players has to happen. But I do think, Parker, looking around the league, there's a lot of teams that I think feel they are either Super Bowl contenders right now or are ready to take the step to be Super Bowl contenders, or maybe can return to being Super Bowl contenders. There are only a few teams around the league that I think right now you look at and you say they're truly rebuilding. Is that fair to say when you look around the NFL? Like, let's start with the AFC. Like, I think the Jets, that's a rebuilding team. They don't have a quarterback. The Dolphins, looks like they're going to move on from Tua this offseason. They're probably rebuilding. The Browns, Shedeur Sanders, if that's your quarterback this year, I don't know if I believe that you're actually moving forward. And like Todd Monken, I kind of feel like he might just be a hold, like a Band-Aid type of coach. And then I would put the Titans and Raiders in that conversation right now, but both teams heading into next year are going to feel like they have their quarterback. But that's, if you even include those two, 11 of the 16 teams in the AFC, I think not only consider themselves playoff contenders, but consider themselves Super Bowl contenders, right? Like Patriots and Bills, Steelers, Ravens, the Bengals with Joe Burrow. I think you at least have to put them in a spot where they think their window is open. The AFC South's kind of a mess with good teams, but like, are they going to be able to sustain it? But I would think the Jaguars, Texans, and Colts feel like they can be contenders next year.
Especially if the Colts are able to re-sign Daniel Jones and get the same production they have.
Right. And that depends on whether he's going to be healthy heading into next year. I don't know what his contract's going to look like, but that's 11 teams in the AFC. And you've got the teams that had success this year. Patriots and Broncos played in the AFC Championship game. The Jaguars were the 3 seed. They won 13 games. But then you have the teams that are trying to battle back after down years. Kansas City, I heard Robbie and Joe rattle off the Super Bowl odds, and the Chiefs were like somewhere in the teens. They were like 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. I'm like, man, do we all forget how good Patrick Mahomes is just because of one down year? And I know he's coming off the injury, so maybe he's not going to be the same guy like week one right off the bat. But the Chiefs are a couple of pieces away with that quarterback and that coach from being back in the conversation again. The AFC is going to be interesting. Is it going to be these new teams that had success this year, or are they a flash in the pan and we're going to get back to Bills, Chiefs, Ravens that are at the top of the AFC in 2026?
Yeah, and even sorry, the weather has really messed with my voice.
Hey, 60-degree weather today, by the way.
I know, but it's been fluctuating, so
right.
It's causing my voice all kinds of issues. So I'm going to power through. One more hour.
Parker's struggling back there. Yeah, you're right. It has been fluctuating. It's like you go from days when it's in the teens, and now today and tomorrow highs are in the 60s. So enjoy it, Nashville. Like, go out there.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying.
Go out there, enjoy your Monday and Tuesday evening with the nice weather. Go on a walk.
I will be sitting outside when I get home.
There you go.
Okay, so even back to what I was gonna say before I died with a cough attack. But the Dallas Cowboys are a team that believe that they have reopened their Super Bowl window, and I'm going to pause because I know as soon as I said that, everyone's probably listening in their cars laughing. But it's true; they did reopen their Super Bowl window. That doesn't mean I think they're going to be a contender, but they did reopen the window. So there are several teams in the AFC specifically that I do being able to contend. I'm very interested to see what the Texans do with CJ Stroud, just because he has looked so bad in the postseason the last 2 years. So bad, specifically this year. So do you believe that he's the guy? Are you going to saddle up and pay him all that money after what you saw from him in the postseason?
The Texans, you're right. That is a team that is going to be a very interesting squad to watch this offseason, because that defense is one of the best teams. It's just as good, if not better, than Seattle's this year. They won 10 straight games for a reason this season. CJ Stroud, I think Houston would have been ready to give him the mega extension after his rookie year, but obviously that's not something that you do. Do you extend him? Like, he's up for an extension this year. Do you give CJ Stroud that money?
If I'm the organization, I'm not, because I don't want to get put in a situation where, and I'm not comparing CJ Stroud to Tua, but you pay Tua all that money because you believe he's going to be your franchise quarterback, and then you're looking to get rid of him, and look at all that dead cap.
Yeah.
I would not want to put myself in that situation.
I would pick up his 5th-year option. You're always going to do that with a young quarterback unless they're just a complete bust. You pick up his 5th-year option, you let him play out his 4th year of his rookie deal. And then I think you can make a decision one way or another. Kind of like what the Titans did with Marcus Mariota, right? You weren't sure after year 3, you let him play it out. And by the end of year 4, you're like, all right, let's bring in Ryan Tannehill because we have to have a backup plan for Marcus Mariota. So I think that's going to be the plan for the Texans. But with that defense and with the potential we've seen from CJ Stroud, I don't doubt that Houston could be in the divisional round again next year with a chance to contend in the AFC.
Yeah, they will. The question is, I don't think that defense is going to drop off under DeMeco Ryans. I think they're going to keep that for the most part intact. But are you able to get CJ Stroud some help on the offensive line? I think that's been an issue. What will Joe Mixon look like coming back from injury? Remember, he missed all of last year with an injury. So CJ Stroud, dude, at some point you're going to have to come on at some point. So I'm in agreement with you. I'm picking up his 5th-year option if I'm the front office, because there's no way I'm going to saddle up and pay him all that money given what I've seen from him the last 2 years.
I think when we look at the AFC, and we're going to talk a little bit more deeply about the Titans specifically next year later on in the hour, but looking at the AFC, we mentioned there are 11 teams that not only think they're playoff contenders, but might be Super Bowl contenders. Only 7 teams make the playoffs. So that might tell you that the Titans are going to struggle to get into the playoffs this year. And I don't think that should be the expectation. We've said that before, that 7-8 wins would be a good year for the Titans in year 1 under Robert Saleh. But I think you can also say the fact that there are 11 teams that feel like they're playoff contenders tells you that none of these teams are perfect. And there's not an overwhelming dominant force in this league, which might make things a little bit easier for the Titans as they try and close that gap with these contenders, because there's no Chiefs super team at the top. The Bills have a lot of flaws outside of Josh Allen. Some of the teams with the best rosters don't have the best quarterbacks, which does open the door for some of these teams that may not quite be there to get into the playoff hunt this season. And maybe that's what the Titans could do in the first season under Robert Saleh.
Sure, because as long as Mahomes is healthy for the Chiefs, they're always going to have a fighting chance. But he's masqueraded so many of their issues when he's on the field.
Right.
Offensive line's been terrible. They haven't had a good run game. They don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. Their defense has kept them in a lot. Steve Spagnuolo is a fantastic defensive mind. But when you don't have Mahomes healthy, that does open up the window for a lot of these teams. So we could see another year of parity like we had this year, where we didn't know what was going to happen. And I think that would be great for the overall NFL product.
The AFC is going to be interesting. The NFC, maybe even more so, because I'll say the 11 teams in the AFC that I think view themselves as playoff contenders, it's all kind of middling. The NFC as a conference is better than the AFC. And I think there are a lot of teams you look at the top who could contend for the Super Bowl, and some teams that had off years this season that could make a surge in 2026. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you want to chime in, again, Super Bowl 60 is in the books. It's never too early to start looking ahead to next season. We'll continue on the other side. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly. Reaction Monday after Super Bowl 60 last night. Seahawks beat the Patriots. Seattle, what a year. Mike McDonald, Sam Darnold, and they end up finishing it off behind a phenomenal performance from their defense. Made things difficult on New England all night long, and now the question is, can they repeat? Early Super Bowl odds have the Seahawks and the LA Rams as the two favorites, and a lot of that does kind of hinge on Matthew Stafford's decision that he announced at NFL Honors that he's coming back, so that makes the Rams legit Super Bowl contenders once again. But the NFC, Parker, this is the more loaded conference, for sure. AFC has better quarterbacks, no doubt about it, but the rosters in the NFC, you just look up and down, and there's so much talent. The Seahawks, obviously, reigning Super Bowl champs. The Rams have so much talent on both sides of the ball. And you even look at some of the teams that weren't quite as good this year, like the Packers. Packers couldn't stay healthy a lot of the season. Micah Parsons, of course, has the ACL injury, and he misses the back half of the season. The Eagles, loaded roster, maybe some culture issues going on there, and we'll see if that gets sorted out in the offseason. The Bears, right, with Caleb Williams, they were a play or two away from going to the NFC Championship in year one under Ben Johnson, year two of the Caleb Williams era up there in Chicago. So the NFC is interesting, and I love that you mentioned Dallas because, and again, I think there'll be some hate for this, saying that the Cowboys could be in the conversation next year in the NFC, but that is a good team. And they plan to tag George Pickens, so you're going to have weapons for Dak Prescott. They've got, did they trade away one of the first this year for Quinnen Williams, or was it one of the 2027?
I believe they gave up a first for him. Yes.
Let's see. No, they've still got two this year.
Okay, they still
so they traded one of the 2027 Packers ones that they got in the Micah Parsons trade. So Dallas picks 12th and 20th this year. So they've got 2 first-round picks. They've still got Quinnen Williams on the other side. I like Dallas as kind of a sleeper team out of the NFC next year. I've said it before. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback that kind of gets forgotten about, which is crazy to say about the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But the injuries, he hasn't stepped up a ton in the playoffs. Only one playoff win, 2 playoff wins since he's been in the league. So it hasn't been good in the postseason from Dak Prescott. But that's a team with the makings of a good roster with resources this offseason to go out and try and add to it. I'm not saying I'm picking Dallas to be in the Super Bowl next year, but I think the Cowboys are a team that not a lot of people are talking about that could end up being one of the powers in the NFC in 2026.
Right. They're one of those teams where they just need to get the defensive side of the ball right, because their offense, Dak Prescott, you're right, is a very good quarterback that does not get the recognition he deserves. George Pickens, I think, has the potential to be a top 5 receiver in this sport. CeeDee Lamb, probably already there. The offensive line is pretty solid. You get good tight end play. Maybe you could improve your run game just a little bit. But when you get that defensive side of the ball fixed, Dallas is 100% a Super Bowl contender. They just have to do it.
And I think what you've seen for the past 30 years shows you that maybe we should be skeptical about the Cowboys. They haven't been to the NFC Championship game since the 90s, but I do like the makings of what Dallas has, especially with 2 first-round picks. You could improve that defense pretty quickly. And like you mentioned, with 2 legit number 1 wide receivers for Dak Prescott, and you've got Jake Ferguson at tight end. I like Dallas a little bit. Some other teams that I like taking a step forward this year, maybe just taking a step back into the limelight: Washington, Detroit. The Lions, that roster, the injuries were tough this year. I think they're going to take another step forward and be one of the contenders in the NFC North. They only went 9-8 this year. Yeah, they finished last in the division, but they only went 9-8. And the Commanders, if Jaden Daniels stays healthy, which is a big if, he's got to hit the weight room. He's got to bulk up this offseason, because that frame it's just not sustainable to play in the NFL at that size. And he's gotten bigger. He's bigger than he was like at Arizona State. Parker, I'm sure you remember back to when Jaden Daniels was a freshman out there in Tempe. I mean, he was a string bean.
I remember when he slaughtered Oregon and Oregon's playoff hopes. And I remember watching that game thinking, man, this dude is legit.
Yes.
But he's a string bean.
Right.
He needs to bulk up.
I think you need to see him bulk up and prioritize his health, because if he doesn't stay healthy, you're never going to have a chance if you're Washington. But when he's healthy, he's proven that he can be one of those rising stars at quarterback in the league. I do like Washington too. The NFC is interesting. If I'm looking in the NFC South here, the only team that I think could take a step, and it depends a lot on what they do this offseason, depends a lot on the young quarterback they have, is the Saints. I'm not a huge Tyler Shuck believer, and I know we get Saints fans texting in here about how he is the franchise quarterback and he has completely turned around the hopes of the franchise. And sure, he was good in his rookie season when he played. You need more than 9 games. Connor Newt compared him to Will Levis on Friday. Like, you do need to see more from Tyler Shuck in year 2. But if you look at a team with the makings of a possible surprise contender, it would be the Saints if you see Tyler Shuck take that next step at starting quarterback for New Orleans.
Yeah, but they still need a lot more. But Tyler Shuck was very impressive in the fact that he was 27 years old when he was he had so much experience in college, so that only helped ease his process into the NFL. So I'm excited to see what he looks like in his second year, but the NFC South, man, still pretty weak.
Yeah, I don't think the Falcons are going to be very good this year. The Bucks, I could see them taking a step back with the way Baker Mayfield struggled down the stretch.
Right.
And
who knows what's going to happen with Mike Evans, if they're going to bring him back
right.
or not. The Panthers, I'd be interested to see if they could win the division again.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
Bryce
just
Young
kind of out of luck.
Playing the way. I mean, nobody wanted to win it down the stretch. So,
well, and they do have talent. I don't want to say luck for the Panthers, but I just don't know if I believe in Bryce Young to be sustainable at quarterback. But we'll see. The only team that I look at in the NFC and I say that team is going to be horrible this year and feel very confident about it is the Arizona Cardinals. Like, the other 15 teams in the NFC, I at least could wrap my head around them having success this year. I don't love the Giants this season, but I could see it. If Jackson Dart under John Harbaugh and Matt Nagy develops, sure, they get Cam Scatterbo back, and I know they were hopping all around Radio Row last week at the Super Bowl. Like, I don't love them. I don't love the Vikings either, but they still won 9 games with J.J. McCarthy playing horrible quarterback for them. The Cardinals are the only team in the NFC I look at and say, that team is going to suck in 2026.
They are not going to be good. And it's so funny because Mike LaFleur is going to be their offensive coordinator because he's calling plays, and ultimately it will be his offense. It's probably going to be Sean McVay's offense with his own little spin on it. But you hire Nathaniel Hackett as your OC, and I'm like, oh boy, you're a first-time head coach, and you're bringing on Nathaniel Hackett,
right?
It's in a coordinator role.
It's the 2 Jets offensive coordinators under Robert Saleh.
Are you sure that's what you want to do?
Yeah, here you go. I'll call my shot. We're talking about Super Bowl contenders. I got 3 teams I feel very confident are going to be picking in the top 5 of next year's draft.
What is it?
Cardinals, Jets, Dolphins.
Yep, I agree.
Like,
I could see it.
I could maybe put the Browns in there too, but I at least with the Browns, that defense has enough talent that maybe they could do what they did this year and get to 5 wins. The 3 teams I feel most confident being horrible this year: Jets, Cardinals, Dolphins. None of them have quarterbacks, and they don't have much going on outside of that as well.
The Steelers, I'm interested to see what they would look like without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Like, if they start
Apparently,
Howard.
Rodgers is coming back. Like, I saw a report this weekend that it's trending more in the direction that he's going to come back.
Yeah. I want to see what they would look like in 26. I really do.
Could be a really wide open NFL again. It's what the league's built for. And the
You're built to go
offseason,
500 every year.
right. And the offseason starts right now. Lots going on. We'll talk about the Titans on the other side. I don't think the Titans are contenders this year. I think they need to take a step forward. Teron Davenport, who again is with us on Thursdays for all 3 hours on the program, if you ever want to hear from TD, he wrote in the way too early power rankings, and we'll talk about what he had to say about the Titans in 2026, where the Titans ranked in the way too early power rankings that always come out the Monday after the Super Bowl is played. We'll get to it coming up next. Couple more segments on this Monday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 125 the game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Couple more segments on this reaction. Monday, Super Bowl 60 last night. Seahawks beat the Patriots. Seattle, they're headed to Disney World, as it looks like that's where First Take was this morning. Saw Ryan Clark with the Mickey Mouse ears on. Seattle wins Super Bowl 60, and we've spent this hour looking ahead because that's what you do. When one season ends, you got to look ahead to the next one. And as you always get the day after the Super Bowl, two things: power rankings, mock drafts. That's the season we're in now. And ESPN, their NFL Nation reporters released the way too early power rankings. And TD put in his little snippet for the Titans, who are ranked 27th in these power rankings. We just talked about the teams that we think are horrible. They are ahead of all of those teams. The Cardinals are 28th. The Dolphins 29th.
Really?
Yes. They've
28? That's high for the Cardinals.
They've got the Raiders 30th, which I'm going to give the Raiders a little more credit because they've got some playmakers. Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, and you're getting a quarterback in Mendoza. I don't know how good he's going to be, but I give the Raiders credit that they could take a step forward this year. The Jets 31st. I think that's fair. They have the Browns 32nd. I think that defense, I would raise them up and I would maybe flip them in the Cardinals, but you're splitting hairs at this point. The Titans are just behind the Saints, the Giants, and the Falcons at 24. So the Titans 27th, and TD was asked, as were all of the ESPN NFL Nation reporters, describe the offseason in 3 words. And TD said, as he told us he was going to on Thursday, just add playmakers. He says the Titans averaged 16.7 points per game in 2025, placing them 29th in the league. Although quarterback Cam Ward showed promise as a rookie, he'll need to help take his game to a higher level in year 2. Tight end Chigakonkwo was the Titans' best yards after catch option, but he's set to be a free agent. Tennessee lacks a true game changer who can dictate coverage assignments and be a scoring threat whenever he touches the ball. The defense also needs help at pass rusher and cornerback. So there's TD's snippet from the way too early power rankings. And I agree with him. That is what this offseason is about, finding playmakers. And I think that paragraph was focused more on the offensive side, which we talked about in hour number 2, about the Titans being aggressive when it comes to finding wide receivers for Cam Ward. But I think just as much as this team needs playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, they need playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. And I've said it for the last couple of weeks as we've gotten into the Titans offseason and we're looking at who they might want at the top of the draft. I think you have to go pass rusher because this team they don't change games enough with their defense. Right? Like there's games where the defense is good and you're like, oh, they're forcing punts. They're not getting, carved up by the opposing offense. But over the last 4 seasons where the Titans have a total of 19 wins, the Titans are averaging less than a turnover per game. The most turnovers they've had in a season over the past 4 years is 20. That's just not good enough. And I want to say they had 14 this past year, which is just horrible. They went like 2 months without an interception, right, Parker?
Yeah, it was a while. It was
a long time without an interception. This team needs game changers, playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, just as much as the offensive side. Let's see. Turnovers. The Titans, yes, had 14 takeaways this offseason or this past season. That's not good enough. And I would love it's something maybe I'll have to do for later in the week to look back and see how many of those 14 were directly caused by Jeffrey Simmons. Whether that's, I know he had a few strip sacks, but he also had a couple where he'd hit the quarterback and the ball would get intercepted. The Broncos game week 1 stands out. Simmons hit Bo Nix and it wobbled up in the air for Xavier Woods to pick it. Like, how many did Jeffrey Simmons directly cause? I would guess at least 5 of the 14. So the rest of your defense just doesn't make enough plays. They may be fine cover corners. They may be fine run stuffers, but you need turnovers if you're going to be a legitimate threat in this league. And that starts with finding guys who can hit the quarterback and guys who can cover on the outside. And that's why I think Ruben Bain is going. As of right now, Ruben Bain would be my pick at number 4 if he gets there.
And you think about too the type of scheme that Saleh runs in the 4-3, which the Titans haven't run a base 4-3 since 2013. You don't have enough depth on the defensive line to feel comfortable doing that right now. And with the receivers in the draft, I don't know if any of them warrant a top 4 pick. So, automatically in my mind, you get an elite playmaker like a Ruben Bain or an Arvell Reese or a David Bailey, somebody that I would feel 100% comfortable taking in the top 5. That's where you got to go if you're the Titans, in my mind, as we stand right now in February.
Right, and we're going off of TD's comment of adding playmakers, and I think when fans hear playmakers, you think of wide receiver, running back, tight end, guys who are going to score touchdowns. I'm looking at it, the defense needs playmakers. You need more guys who are going to change the game with turnovers, with sacks. And I think Ruben Bain is that type of player. A lot of time to go in the draft process. The combine is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I think we'll learn more about how Ruben Bain is viewed among the rest of the NFL, right? Like the short arms thing it's something to pay attention to. You can't just ignore it. But I think if he's a good enough football player, you have to look at what he's done on tape more than just the measurables. Like good football players are just good football players sometimes, and you don't overthink it just because, his arms are an inch shorter than what you would like there.
Go watch the college football playoff.
Right.
That's what I would say.
I saw that report. I think it was The Athletic who put it out there that like there's a couple of day 2 grades on Ruben Bain because of the short arms. And as someone who had only watched Ruben Bain play a couple of times, like when they were on the national stage in the Notre Dame game, I was like, I think he's a good player, but I don't know enough about him to say that the arms aren't going to be a problem. Watching all 4 of their college football playoff games, dude is a game wrecker. And I think if you put him next to Jeffrey Simmons and you hope Tavondre Sweat can be a fit in this defense, that can be a game changer, a playmaking unit for your team. We just saw what Seattle did in the Super Bowl. And I do love looking at Nick Suss on Twitter from the Tennessean because he always puts out these very interesting stats. And he put this out this morning, two stats to set up the next 3 months. 1, in the last 10 years, the median Super Bowl winner has finished with 3.5 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. 2, NFL teams have used 86 first-round picks on edge rushers. 35 of them have been Pro Bowlers since the Titans last picked an edge in the first round. 86 first-round picks on edge rushers since the Titans last picked Derek Morgan in the first round. So the Titans have not invested enough in the pass rush. And when you get to the Super Bowl, when you get late in the postseason, having an elite pass rush might be the second most important thing beyond quarterback. And so that's why I think finding a game-changing pass rusher on the edge in this draft is going to be what is most important for the Titans as they try and rebuild this roster.
Right. I mean, we saw it play out this way with the Seahawks. And, it's not the formula to win, but it is a strong formula. And even the year before with the Eagles, having a very solid defensive line can get you out of so many, can save you so much trouble because the Seahawks won that game yesterday on the back of their defense. Sam Darnold was good, but he wasn't great.
Right.
He just he didn't hurt the team. And Kenneth Walker obviously is a separate story, but they won that game on the back of their defense. So that should be, you consider who you're bringing in, a defensive mind in Robert Saleh, play to your strengths.
And you look around the last, we just heard the stats from Nick Suss, but think of Super Bowl champions over the last 15 years. Yeah, there are great quarterback performances mixed in there, but last year, the Eagles defense wrecked the Chiefs offensive line. They blew them out. Look back at we can even go back to the last time the Super Bowl was in Santa Clara. That Broncos defensive line with Von Miller, they wrecked the game. And the Panthers offense that was so high powered could not do anything. The Bucks and Chiefs Super Bowl in the COVID year, the Bucks defensive line made Patrick Mahomes run for his life. That is how you win in the postseason, is you have a defensive line that can affect the quarterback without blitzing. And I think having Jeffrey Simmons and a Reuben Bain as two guys on your front four makes that a whole lot easier to start and build up a unit like that for the Tennessee Titans. I was on last year, I think right around when the Super Bowl happened, I was on Cam Ward as the Titans' first-round pick. I'm putting it in there now. I reserve the right to change it as there's still 2.5 months to go until the draft, but I'm going to put it out there now. If I was on the clock at 4, Reuben Bain would be the pick for the Tennessee Titans.
Agreed. Same thing.
All right. We're sticking with it here on Next Man Up for now, but we will see. Obviously, a long way to go in the draft process. Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland is called in. Adam, thanks for calling. Good morning.
How weird would that be getting Miami players at the top of the draft?
I know.
Years in a row, though. I love him too. Hey, and what you're talking about, because I'll tell you, Jake, if I disagree with you, I agree with you guys 100% on this. This is why I liked Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State last year in the second round instead of Femi Oladipo. Because I was like, okay, he looks like Javon Curse. He's got the measurables, but we've never seen him sack anybody. Like, what happens if he doesn't get out there and produce? I want to see it first, man. Like, it's the same thing with like injured players or like if you've not proven to me that you know how to play football, the Titans, we have years of experimentation to where that crap doesn't work. Like, it's the only bad draft pick this year was Femi Oladipo. In my opinion, he was the only one where I can go, well, that's a terrible pick. All the rest of them were great. So I would say pick somebody with production, period. Like, I don't want any type of measurable guy anymore.
Well, that's a good point, Adam. And I will point out that if you're looking for the mix of measurables versus production, then maybe David Bailey's the pick, right? David Bailey did tie for the FBS lead in sacks this year, and he has more of the stereotypical measurables that you look for in an edge rusher. So I like Reuben Bain. And if the Titans view that he is a game wrecker and it doesn't matter if he has short arms, great. But I could also see it being David Bailey if the Titans want to go with somebody who does fit that central casting for a pass rusher more.
Well, do you have anybody that you go, oh, there's Aiden Hutchinson. There he is. Like, you got to take him because it's Aiden Hutchinson. No, I don't. So that's why I'm scared about a DN, dude. Like, I do like Bain. I saw the same thing you saw, but at the same time, man, I'm like, I don't know if that guy's at the top.
That it's going to be interesting to see how the NFL views Reuben Bain as a prospect, because again, measurables do matter. They wouldn't measure you if it didn't lead to expectations of production at the next level. But it's not everything. And I think we're going to see over the next 2 months, is Reuben Bain viewed as a game wrecker? And honestly, there's a chance he doesn't get to 4 if people around the league view him as somebody who breaks the mold of what you look at as a pass rusher. I think he'll be there at 4, and I think he will be the Titans pick. But again, it's still only February. This is just, it's what the offseason brings. It's draft season now, and plenty more to come on the offseason right here on 102.5 The Game throughout the next couple months as the Titans try and fill out this roster. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got one more segment on this Monday. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, wrapping up the show on this Reaction Monday. Super Bowl 60 last night. Seahawks beat the Patriots. Much more reaction to the big game coming up throughout the day here on 102.5 The Game. Chase and Big Joe are coming up at the top of the hour. We're looking ahead for the Titans here and what they might do in the offseason. And of course, the number 4 overall pick is the biggest chip that Mike Borgonzi has heading into the spring. And Parker and I are on the same page. If it was us and the board falls the way that you think it's going to, I think it's going to be Ruben Bain at number 4. A lot of time for things to change, but as of right now on February 9th, we're going with Ruben Bain. And the arm size is the thing that everybody points to and says maybe he's not worth a top 5 pick. Dylan points out on the text line, Aaron Donald was also considered small for his position. He's a Hall of Famer and a game wrecker, so I don't think it matters. Aaron Donald would be considered the outlier, right? It's one of those things that, yes, Aaron Donald, I think, makes you feel a little bit better if you pick Ruben Bain of just like, yes, the measurables aren't there, but he's just a good football player. Maybe he ends up being pseudo Aaron Donald. He's not going to be Aaron Donald. Like, no one is Aaron Donald. And you can't draft him just because Aaron Donald worked out. You have to go through the process and see if the production that we witnessed in the college football playoff, will that translate when he's facing the better, longer athletes at tackle in the NFL, right? Like that's the question with the arm length. Is it good enough? Here, I'll use the draft day. We have to find out what the flaw is, and we have to find out if it matters, right? Ruben Bain, they say he has too short of arms. Does it matter? That's what the Titans need to figure out. Is he going to be able to compete with the athlete, the caliber of athlete that plays tackle in the NFL at his measurables? That's what the next couple months are to figure out if the Titans are seriously considering picking Ruben Bain.
Right. And I think you got to understand too that Mike Bergonzi is going to do his homework and he's going to do his research, and you got to trust that the staff that he's surrounded, the front office with, the coaching staff, that they're going to do their homework as well on this. But just from a purely watching him play standpoint, the hand size, the arm length didn't seem to matter. And you just need, as TD said in the article, you just need elite football players.
Playmakers.
You need good football players. So that's what you'll get in Ruben Bain.
Yeah, and I saw Jeffrey Simmons made it clear that he wants Ruben Bain at the Super Bowl this week. He was asked, who do they want to pick it for? He said Ruben Bain, and I believe he referenced Cam Ward has small hands and he still slings the football. So who's to say Ruben Bain's arms are going to matter? Again, that's for the front office to figure out leading up to draft day. 1880 on the text line says, what's the best way to fix the secondary? Bulk picks deep in the draft. I think yes. I think you'll see a couple of picks at cornerback in the draft, maybe one on day 2, one on day 3. I would say I'm fairly confident of the Titans' top free agent moves, like in terms of money spent, a cornerback is going to be up there. Like that is a group that is bare, that is in desperate need of veteran leadership. And I think you're going to see them go out and spend some money at cornerback while also supplementing that with draft picks. So early on, the offseason starts today, and the Titans have a lot of decisions to make if they want to find themselves at least in playoff contention in 2026. Lots at their disposal with draft picks, $100 million in cap space. So lots of decisions for Mike Borgonzi and company. 3337 says, before last night, I wouldn't have worried about short arms, but Will Campbell stanks. I mean, yeah, that's Will Campbell. Everybody questions, was it a Peter Skoronski situation where he's better at guard? I do wonder if Will Campbell ends up bumping inside. If it's not this offseason, maybe some point soon. So arms, the measurables matter. Again, they wouldn't measure them if it didn't matter. You got to figure out if he's good enough, if he's a good enough player to overcome some of the shortcomings when it comes to the measurables. That'll just about wrap it up for us. Before we go, do want to mention again tonight, 8:00 Memorial Gym. Top 10 matchup officially. The AP poll just came out a little under an hour ago. Number 5 Vanderbilt women's basketball hosting number 10 Oklahoma. Huge game. It's an 8 o'clock tip. I'll have your pregame coverage at 7:45 on 94.9 The Fan. But if you want to go out and watch some great basketball, there is some elite talent that is going to be on the floor tonight over at Memorial. So make sure you get out there, cheer on Vanderbilt. They deserve it. This is a team that is competing just on the edge of a 1 seed in the tournament as it stands right now. And right now, all alone in second place in the SEC behind South Carolina. So lots to cheer on. Make sure you head out there to Memorial. Again, 8 o'clock tip tonight against Oklahoma. Tomorrow on the show, Nick Frazier going to join us. And I think we're going to do it. We're going to do a little simulation of the Titans offseason and see what you can get with what the Titans have and see how much work we can do on this offseason as we head towards free agency in just about a month. So tomorrow we'll do that on the show with Dr. Crane joining us. But coming up next, Chase and Big Joe, they'll have plenty more reaction to Super Bowl 60 as the Seahawks beat the Patriots and much more throughout the day. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.